You looked at the teams that were playing yesterday, and it shouldn't have necessarily been hype, but now that we're in Champion Select, it certainly is today. Jinair, what do they take away first against Afreeca?
I think Sion would be a good place to start. Because
surprise.
Afreeca Freecs have already shown very recently they're happy to jump onto the mid lane Sion train, and the choo-choo train is going to be aborted for this game. No Sion allowed.
Not happening this time. And of course, Kuro picking up the victory on that one all too easily. The man's pretty used to playing Sion in the mid lane. You guys can cast your mind back about 12 to 24 months. Olaf going to be the follow-up ban, though, from Afreeca, so Umti not going to be able to get that
he needs a
hard
back
invading
rub. He's
style.
very depressed, as you can see. Needs a back rub already. He's like, come on, it's all I have.
Where was my free win? Oh, not today.
But the chances of Valdi Bear go up. Just another 5 jungle bans, and maybe it'll happen.
Well, Rakan's going to be taken away. Ignar showing us that you don't even need Xayah to make Rakan work, so he's going to take priority over his bottom lane lovers duo partner.
We've had the love just be spread out all over the Rift. Star-crossed lovers yesterday. You know, you just want to sometimes see a small win, you know, the lovers getting to get on the Rift together, but the schedules have been conflicting, apparently.
Yeah, straight up not happening. And Varus not going to be happening either, as Teddy's going to have that one removed from him. Sejuani's going to be the follow-up. Mowgli, certainly his favorite so far. 50% of his games out of 4 has been the Sedge.
Zac does loom as a very possible pick. I like blue side Sejuani bans because Umti's shown no presence on it. It's been a really unfortunate champion for the side of Jinax. Some recent victories, but mostly being a down champion. 3-7 on the season. Afreeca Freecs looking for the final ban. Galio's available. Quite a lot is up here.
Yeah.
As we get to this round, a lot of Galio bans still this week. The AD Galio has been banned, but the real Galio is available.
Yeah, I feel like Galio should certainly be the option that Jinair would look towards, but Skarner still available also.
Tells you a bit of where they need to get advantages if they're going to be leaving the Galio open. It's a big pick for Afreeca. Again, could be overlooked. We never know. Teams show different priorities, but Kuro is one of these legacy Galio players, and he couldn't play Sion, and Galio's the closest approximation. Jinair showing very high priority on the Skarner, but with Zac available, are we just going bouncy castle?
Yeah, I have a feeling that if you're Mowgli, makes a whole lot of sense. Kramer, though, is going to prioritize the Caitlyn first round. We saw her being first picked a whole lot yesterday, especially by SKT. Despite the loss, that bottom lane was certainly still dominant.
Maybe SKT and Afreeca have been scrimming because SKT and Afreeca both have shown no priority on the Caitlyn and then instantly are first rounding it. And their first series is this week. Yeah. Only 0-1 on the Caitlyn this season for Kramer, not being a big pick.
On the other side, though, most played for Teddy. 7 games so far, 7 on the Trist as well, but still standing out. Azumti going to be able to take away the Camille for Soan on the top side of the map. The man has, just recently, like you mentioned earlier on, had a fantastic performance on the pick, so it makes sense.
And take away is the right word because it denies the Hextech Ultimatum Heroes Entrance synergy. It's been the Tristana hype train for Teddy in recent matches. It is a self-counter pick when it comes to the early laning phase, but the supports can help out. I think Thresh will be looked at on both sides. So we'll see what Afreeca Freecs want to do here. They could lock in a high priority top laner. They could get Thresh to add to the Caitlyn.
Makes a lot of sense right now.
The Zac, like you say, unless Mowgli has an extended pool, and they will go into, at least the start of a bouncy castle.
Yeah. And having that hero's entrance just means that the Zac will be pretty much unkillable if he finds anyone.
I think both teams desperately want Thresh, so I want to see who bans it out. Otherwise, I think it will be first rounded on the red side.
Yeah. I think it has to be banned by Afreeca. That Jinair really want to utilize the synergy, and Afreeca may not necessarily want to go towards it, even though, yes, the early game power is certainly there.
The reason why you'd ban it and not first round it on red side is because you want to counterpick support, because right now you already know the top laner, so you're in a position to counterpick the Camille already, so the most value when it comes to counterpicks is first rounding a top laner, and that means Thresh will be taken away, as they don't want that to have a ranged laner to start to allow the Tristana a bit more of an option against the Caitlyn. Interesting to see where they do go with the Tristana, given that Caitlyn can be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, interesting about what Afreeca are going to ban next, and it is going to be the Azir. I was going to mention, Corki, because it has been one of the preferential picks into the Galio, but Grace has never played it so far this season. He's played a lot of games, just never on the Corki. Have a feeling that he probably can, but hasn't been what he's gone towards just yet. So just making sure that they don't have that consistent damage duo of the Azir and the Tristana for the late game fights.
If you roll back, maybe it's just the Taliyah and trying to play the map in a pretty similar fashion to how Afreeca's playing the map. It was, like I mentioned, Taliyah and Skarner. They got a lot of value on a pick comp with a Tristana. Might be the way going. Again, I'm most interested in the support choice to help out the Tristana. Maybe Alistar. Alistar is already banned, though, so it's not going to be available. See what Afreeca wants to do.
Standing out here for Afreeca, but looking at the Tahm Kench, and I like what you say about counterpicking support to get the most favorable bottom lane you can possibly get, but looks like Afreeca are just going to take away the catfish, make sure that Jin Air didn't have that option for them, and you can understand, of course, does work very, very well when you've got a Skarner on the opposing side.
Side of Jin Air showing some range support, which I think would be very helpful for lane, but won't necessarily fit every composition. We are still in that melee support meta. Could find some sustain through the Taric.
Yeah, and also helps for any sort of cheeky, you know, less man Barons, 2-mans, 3-mans, things like that, if you want to just sit there and heal up.
In the West, it's seen as a pseudo counterpick to the Galio, because during the flight time, you arm the Cosmic Radiance and then try to outlast the initial burst from the Galio.
Yeah, also not care so much about the extra tankiness.
And they will go for the Taliyah, so this is very much about turret destruction and pick power on the side of Jin Air. So Afreeca Freecs, they've left top lane to last. The top lane Ryze is available, interestingly.
Yeah, Ryze actually not being banned is crazy.
Being a big pick for Keen in the top lane. Could go more conventional, go for something like an Orin, but he's actually looking at Malphite.
That's one hell of a bouncy castle if they wanted to go there.
It's been played in the LPL. This is an outside chance of happening. But they flash over to the Fiora, and instead, we get old school from Keen. After all, they went from team fight into wanting to split. The Fioras this week have not necessarily been working out. But this is once again the skill matchup between the Fiora and the Camille. But I'm just excited that we get to see Keen flex his muscles after being on tank roleplay duty for the majority of the season.
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy, and we're going to have, speaking of crazy, Ontara looking on, seeing whether Keen is going to have better luck in this matchup. We saw the stats for Camille versus Fiora so far in the LCK, and they are not very good for the Fiora. She's managed to win 1 out of what was like 9 games or something like that in the matchup.
History, if it repeats itself, it's not good reading for Afreeca. It's 1-8 in the LCK, and that's Fiora into Camille.
Yeah.
Even though on paper a winning lane matchup for Fiora, making Fiora work is more than a one-step process. And so far that hasn't been working. It's also 0-1 in his career for the side of Keen. Of course, he's still very new onto the pro circuit and was on Ever 8 winners, so win-losses don't mean everything. We know he has the mechanics, but because they haven't been there recently, it's going to be a treat to watch, as otherwise, a lot of standard stuff off the rift and a lot of team fight for Afreeca. So if they get the team fight going and win the split push, oh boy, it's going to be everything on fire for the side of Jin Air.
Yeah, it could be crazy, and I'm really interested to see what that Keystone pickup is going to be. Is he going towards the Kleptomancy, going for the scaling, sacrificing a bit of early game power? Because we saw the Comet doing ridiculous things for crazy when we saw him on the map. We've been talking mostly about the top lane, but the rest of the map is looking super exciting as well. Let's get into game number 1, Jin Air versus Afreeca.
생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
Fans still making their way to the Seoul E Stadium here because it is still a relatively early start and everyone has stuff to do like work and school and things like that. I have a feeling we are going to fill up though because all of the seats are open. So as this one goes on, we're going to be seeing a little bit more as Teddy fiddling around a little bit at the moment.
Whoa,
a lot of fans.
That is a combat Teddy.
Man. Looks like a gangster Teddy.
You do not want to mess with that teddy bear at all.
No, not at all. What are you talking about? I'm Teddy. I'm going to come and get you. It's what it sort of seemed like to me. I don't know. That's sort of gangster. I just recently saw... Yeah, okay, never mind. I'm not even going to go into it. Kane looking to try and grab a Crystal Spire down here, but So-On saying, no. I've... actually, going Precision this time around is So-On. No Comets to come in for the Camille.
Yeah, press the attack extended trades are what the Camille's looking for rather than the Comet for laning phase, and Keen is going for the now very standard Kleptomancy. OGN showed these stats the last time we had the matchup and had them ready to go for the next time. Love it.
Bit of a copy-paste, just change one of the numbers.
So because it's a bot-side leash, if you remember, we've actually seen Tristana lanes force the Skarner to solo down blue buff just so they could reach the lane at level 1 to get the push. And now it's going to be a Caitlyn lane getting the push. So this could be tricky times for Teddy.
Yeah, and it just shows how much they prioritize getting an advantage for Umti in the jungle. See whether he can actually translate that into success around the map, because otherwise it could just be sacking Teddy and Wraith to the wolves.
And it's multi-layered because remember they first picked Skarner over the available Galio that was clearly going to be a first-round pick for the side of Afreeca. The Skarner was available, so the Zac was available as an answer, so they prize getting the early skirmish champion. They also give the leash in a tough matchup for the bot lane. That's about as much as you can do for your jungler in the early game.
Yeah, they also know that Teddy can farm extremely well no matter what the circumstances are. We haven't seen him fall behind too much, no matter what is the case. Is Mowgli actually going to cancel that back? Has to elastically slingshot his way out.
I think he would have gotten out, but you're never 100% sure about those invulnerability frames. So in the end, just cancels, and eventually we'll be back anyway.
Exciting thing is the Grace immediately moving towards the top side, and this is something that they will have. Priority in the mid lane is something that Talias are always very good at gathering for themselves, and being able to surf those walls does help them get around the map.
Again, this is very similar to the comp Jin Air ran in the first round robin against Afreeca. That was a 2-0 victory for Jin Air, and in my notes, the trio I was most looking for was Skarner, Taliyah, and Kalista. Now, the Kalista has changed out after some nerfs, but otherwise, very similar construction here and a lot of pick options. So you get the Tristana into a couple of items, you load up with the Weaver's Wall, and you take structures. It's a big thing that can happen as Skarner threatens an all-in. Looking at the runes, Presence of Mind. Actually an interesting choice, given the longer cooldowns on the Camille.
See how it works as we continue. It's the first time we've seen press the attack as well. At least in recent memory. Comet does seem to be the optimal choice for our top lane Camille's. At the moment, still able to command control over this lane. 8 CS in the lead. But I believe Keen should be able to grab some as it crashes towards the turret, and Klepto going to keep him up there. Does also start with the Ancient Coin, so a very sort of investment banker style to get us moving.
You expect to see Afreeca jungle mostly around bot lane because of the Caitlyn's lane strength, and to the extent of actually Mowgli starting up the Infernal. Infernal is one of the easier drakes to solo. Ocean is by far the hardest.
Yep, doesn't have quite as much health as Umti is actually going to make his way towards the bottom side of the map. They have no vision of this dragon, and Mowgli's doing a decent job of picking up his blobs and
you just don't expect
alive.
Zac to be soloing the dragon at level 4.
Yeah.
So a bit hard done by Warfield Umti, as despite some of the power in the lanes, they will lose the first Infernal. A Mountain will be spawning just before 11 minutes into the game. Nice little win there for the side of Afreeca, and just something you wouldn't expect as Jin Air's jungle.
Yeah, going to feel a little bit robbed. As Teddy, you can see, perfect use. The explosive charge to get all of those creeps. And he is staying well and truly within touching distance of Kramer, who's opted in for the Doran's Blade. We see sometimes the Doran Shield being taken, but in a matchup that's so favored for the Caitlyn, he will just try and be as frustrating as possible. Wraith goes home. Gonna grab that Targon's Brace and teleport back into this lane with his spellbook that is available. Tucson also doing the same thing as Soan. Not the greatest of trades, but at least gets the tactical sweep to try and get something back. He comes down. Mowgli gonna bash him into a ward. The stun is going to come in. Soan's going to take this as an opportunity to go back home for the moment. The wave pushing back towards him. It's a decent time.
Control ward will spot Umti if he decides to go through towards the river, but he'll see it himself. So going to get some vision around there, but otherwise not too much to mention. Lasting Wand and Infernal means some good pushing for the Galio earliest bot lane.
Yeah, a lot of damage onto Teddy. He's just taken down by Kramer. Wraith just has to look on in horror. Couldn't heal him enough, and Teddy, uncharacteristic death very early in this game.
The laning phase going better than expected. He just gets tied up by a trap of all things and dies. Because Tucson has taken the Ignite. Didn't respect the summoner fully and goes down. That's unfortunate for the side of Jin Air. Laning phase has been going better than expected. Dazzles down. Stands on the trap, and the trap signals his doom. Does it for Teddy, as Tucson also celebrates the kill with a flash.
I like that. He's like, you guys deserved us to flash in that particular moment. Actually could be very important though, as Umpty very close to hitting that level 6 mark. Got a teleport coming in. Hookshot's going to go wide though. Could actually be a blessing in disguise as Umpty's going to get up here with the Predator. They do find Keen, but the Weaver's Wall is going to deliver Grace. They're going to make it a man advantage. Doesn't find the seismic shove though. Now Kuro, he's moving his way up and they need to respect the hero's entrance. Jin Air back away.
Two champions with globals always has that slight pause where you don't fully commit, remembering that hero's entrance can easily turn around a scenario like that. So they back away. A global is used. Now Kuro has a global advantage with the hero's entrance. He wants to go bot lane, as we well know. But at least Teddy, in his death, didn't use either summoner. So the chances of that gank working are a bit lower than expected.
Yeah, he also is able to farm out beautifully on the bottom side of the map as usual, so it's only going to mean some extra money for Kramer. Teddy shouldn't be behind by too much as far as the rest of the map is concerned. Laning phase going to continue to be rough. The back is actually incredibly preferential for Keen on top side. The Sapphire Crystal feels awful for Soan as Teddy has to tank up the ace in the hole and the Peacemaker as well.
He's also gone about the most disrespectful you could, starting in with Ancient Coin, then going straight for a Ravenous Hydra with no Dorans. He doesn't have a single Dorans item. The double Dorans and Sapphire Crystal, but if he stands up with GP10 and no regen outside of Lifesteal and the health regen on the Tiamat, and goes even, he is massively ahead.
Yeah.
Because he has not spent all that gold onto the early game items.
Yeah, 2 Doran's Blades. Doesn't feel great. Just couldn't quite afford a Sheen and needed to have as much battle stats as possible to get him through it. Dazzle not going to find anything as Teddy and Wraith. This is really rough times for the bottom lane of Jin Air.
I think not enough players are a bit frisky with their item builds. Obviously, if he fell behind, you criticize him for it. So it feels like you're being results-oriented, saying, okay, he's getting away with it, good job. But he has the Galio, so you can afford to be a bit safer when you have Galio to bail you out of most bad situations. He has regen. It's a preferential matchup for the Fiora as well. So given all those things, why not, if you have the exact gold numbers, skip over some lane priority and just make yourself ready for the split push even earlier, because the Fioras we've seen recently have been going for laning items, but never really hitting their stride, and the Camille's have been having success in the side lanes, let alone the team fights.
But often the Camille's also have been able to get that first back Sheen, things like this. Their back timings haven't been as bad as Soan's, to be honest. So Keen was afforded all of this extra space just based on what Soan was able to afford. I feel like the adaptation is another thing that we really need to praise Keen for. Just understanding that the disrespect is possible.
Things definitely going well for Afreeca. In summation in the top side. Bot side, they already have the first Drake of the game and double control ward. We always mention is a first step towards that bot lane roam going unspotted. But for now, a mid lane play is possible.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of wards littering everywhere on the bottom side. But Mowgli, I think, is
level 6 and no Rod of Ages. The damage isn't there to actually burst down Grace. And level 6, the range on the Elastic Slingshot isn't quite out of order like it is from level 7 onwards.
They're going to get a Justice Punch, and the taunt at least lands. There's the cleanse. Can Mowgli connect him? But no, doesn't find the extra arms as Umpty wants to drag the blob back in, doesn't get it. And the Impale, in fact, does go on cooldown. Really good use of the Let's Bounce.
Yeah, that was something there that you can start to channel and guarantee that you get out, but it also uses the cooldown from Umpty, who feels sheepish. Seemed very clear what was going to happen. The trade up in terms of cooldowns for Afreeca, given how powerful Impale is in the early game.
Yeah, just silly, and Mowgli won't need the Let's Bounce to make these ganks work extremely well. Kuro with the Hero's Entrance still off cooldown as well, so he'll be absolutely fine. Umpty going to grab this Rift Scuttler and continue his jungle path. We've seen Skarner's having a pretty rough time recently, as that's a really nice shove. Grace will be able to get some damage onto Kuro, but thankfully he's got the Aftershock. He's going to be fine.
Not enough damage to take him down, such as Galio in the early game. They back away, and so far the first big Skarner, while set up for success, has not picked up the first Drake, and Pale on cooldown for now.
A lot of the stories aren't really great for Skarner so far in the LCK, but he's going to try it again moving up towards the top side.
It's a party.
Yeah. Fracture is going to be his only CC option to try and lock down Keen. There's the hook shot. Riposte is now on cooldown though, as Soan gets stunned. Will get himself back out of here.
Double teleport top lane.
Yeah, Kuro makes his way through. It's a really good seismic shove as Soan will need to try and put his back to the walls as Mowgli. Oh, he's going to get bounced back. That was a nice interaction. And now we've got Tucson showing up.
He's alone.
1 versus 3. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do. Gets the Devour. And now Soan's going to fall. Afreeca Freecs somehow make it work when we thought Jinner might have gotten out.
He had enough friends to go for the 1v3 play. Kuro's flash into the brush ended up looking very comical. Got no value out of it, but they get the kills anyway. And Hero's entrance not used in all of that means it's there for the Drake. Spawns right now. It's been up for about a couple of minutes. They turn onto the Drake here to Afreeca Freecs, not with severe damage. But over time, they can pick up a second Drake of the game.
Well, now going to move on over. Mowgli going to prioritize grabbing himself a scuttler first, as the Drake is just going to be ignored for the moment. But let's have a look at all of the crazy things that happen topside.
So the first teleport is channeled, and you think, okay, it's going to be cancelled, they're going to back away. No, Galio decides to come in. Tucson switches over as well, and we're fighting. Kuro misjudges there, and gets a little snigger from you. I understand that. It was pretty funny. They go for the chase, and in comes Tucson at the end of this. 1v3, but knowing that the rest of the team can get there, pops him out. Keen even gets the kill, and he was the one who was being dived to start it all. So the next buy is going to be massive for Keen, and we've been waiting for the Fiora to overtake the matchup. If this one doesn't do it, I don't think any of them are going to do it.
And this is not when he's supposed to overtake the matchup as well. I mean, we have to remind you guys that normally it's a bit of scaling, a couple of items, and then the Fiora just carries the split push in the late game. It's not supposed to happen now, with the Kleptomancy being opted in for, and he does have that CS advantage over Soan, who could only afford a longsword after dying.
Mowgli is the most committed to soloing Drakes I've ever seen as that.
Yeah, and he might be really frustrated that Kramer and Tucson turned up. He's like, guys, I was soloing it though. He does at least manage to get the final hit, so we'll be able to take that one away. So a couple of Drakes now for Afreeca. They're pretty good ones, as the Ocean is going to come in as number 3. May not have quite as much priority, but grabbing an Infernal and a Mountain to start things off feels pretty good, as Kramer and Tucson want to be shoving through onto this turret and already down to about a quarter health. This push should really start to make things work as well, unless the Dazzle bothers him, and it is going to do so.
A lack of lane priority in bot lane has kind of pigeonholed Jinner to play only top, but that so far has been turned around a couple of times. That means that getting the turret destruction plays are so far delayed. We're waiting for 2-3 items onto the Tristana, and we still haven't seen the full value out of the pylon comp that Afreeca can enact. So Afreeca's Caitlyn lane gets the first turret of the game, as expected with the drafted lane. They keep pushing, and Kuro there for coverage as well. Nice controlled play from the Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, Kuro just basically got a turret by going and clearing wards in the Dragon Pit, because he was close enough for a hero's entrance. Jinner had to respect it, so easy. First turret blood going down, 3,000 gold now the lead for Afreeca. It's feeling pretty academic here from the Afreeca Freecs side. Keen showing us that yes, Fiora is a good matchup. We felt a bit silly talking about the priority that you can get in the matchup, but at least finally someone's been able to figure it out.
It's one of those weird things where, again, in lane, 1v1, final destination, it's 60-40, or maybe even better, maybe 65-35. It's just ease of execution is so important in professional play, and making Fiora work as the game goes from mid to late game actually requires multiple steps that can go wrong anywhere in the chain, and then suddenly Fiora is useless. If Fiora can't split push, well, then she's team fighting already. You feel pretty bad about that. Maybe there's enough CC on this team to make her at least decent, but she's not a strong team fighter. So because you need to both win the lane and also have a plan to set up around a 4-1 or a 1-3-1, because it gets interrupted so often, it's less reliable than a strong split pusher who can also start fights, which is what the Camille represents. When the two things come together, that's when you get excited about a Fiora, and it seems like it will come together.
Well, Mowgli is just going to kidnap a Tristana. Cosmic Radiance is going to arm in time, but it's inside the belly of Tucson, and they just wait it out. They're going to feed Kramer another kill and maybe another turret. As you can see, Teddy, he's frustrated.
It's getting rotated on. They're rotating around the Tristana Taric lane and rotating with that strong Caitlyn for turret destruction. There was no vision there for them to walk up. They had no idea where Zac was on the map at all. And Umti trying to make a cross-map play against Hero's entrance. It's just not going to work, Atlas.
Nope. And Keen's going to be there to make sure that he's not able to grab that blue buff. Mowgli is the king of soloing things. It's like he's playing League of Legends, but also kind of really wants to play, like, what is that, the game on PS1? about the
There was a lot
Colossi.
of games on PS1.
Damn it, it's like a super famous one, and I can't remember the name.
You think
for some
Shadow of
reason.
the Colossus?
Shadow of the Colossus,
on
that's
PS2.
the one. PS2. I wasn't a PS man, if you guys remember my conversation about Donkey Kong yesterday. He is going to be able to do it, though.
Might have even been PS3, now that I think about it. But
No, I think it was PS2. It was definitely one of those two.
never played it, but have definitely heard of it.
Remake. Going to be sick. Apparently.
You got a percentage on that one, Atlas?
No idea. I'm not actually going to go for it because I've been wrong a lot so far today. Oakley's going to be able to go home, though. We'll see whether he actually drops down Shelly, where she's going to be going. Mid lane, outer turret. Seems to be the next target here for the Afreeca Freecs. They want to continue opening up this map.
And Kuro's getting fun with the item build. Proto Belt's been out of the meta for a little while on these mid lane Gallios, and I spy with my lie a Hextech Revolver to start that one off.
Yeah, we have actually seen a few of it in solo queue in different regions as well as far as first items. The Proto Belt into full AP has been an option that's been toyed around with, but Kuro going to go for it after the Rod of Ages. I like it. A couple of different flavors with some early game power in the Proto Belt as well as the scaling of the Rod of Ages.
If you're wondering about the interaction, you can't actually Proto Belt while you use your taunt. It locks you out of using items and other abilities, but you can actually use it before to just guarantee the taunt, basically, is the way you think about it, or you use it afterwards when you're in melee range of the enemy to get full damage out of the bolts. So it's the way you use it. It does add a bit more utility for Kuro, especially when his flash is on cooldown. Map so narrow for Teddy, who once again walks up and might just be instantly turned on.
Yeah, Rocket Jump may not be quite as good as he thinks it is, as he doesn't have a flash. Unfortunately, Wraith unable to tank up that one either, as Grace gets pulled back. Winds of War does a fair bit of damage. He's not going to be too worried about it. Merc Tread's helping him there as Tucson.
Rotation
Yeah, exactly. This could be the outer turret because there's a lot of damage on this Caitlyn. Weaver's Wall isn't even a great idea as it almost does get the knockback onto Shelly, who was on top of the wall, but she's absolutely fine.
Unfortunately, it doesn't get the knockback, and it also doesn't stop Shelly from walking up because it was just too shallow for that. We're seeing fights everywhere.
Oakley's going to get the kidnap. Cosmic Radiance does arm in time onto Wraith, but he's not going to be able to save Umpty, who's right in the back line. Kuro's going to get bonked back, but Keen picks up the kill in the end. Hero's entrance just to confirm it. And Afreeca Freecs, they're continuing to push 5v4.
And Atlas, it's perfect game territory in the first 20 minutes. Nothing has been picked up yet by Jin GreenWings. Even the Rift Herald went the way of Afreeca. They push forward, and so far, no resistance.
Yep, in goes Kuro, has the flash, was threatening, but he's just buying space to take down this inhibitor turret. 19.5 minutes, and they grab the first inhibitor turret and break the base. This is ridiculous. You said perfect game. This is the fastest perfect game that I've seen since Afreeca Freecs Game 1's last season.
And you take a step back and remember, we're seeing all three top three teams play on this match day. KT versus Kingzone in our second series. Umti was too far up, so it's taken down. The Hero's Entrance available just to guarantee Keen in the front line. We're also seeing all 5 of the 2016 Rocks Tigers play today, as Kuro is in this series, and the other 4 will be in our second series. So far, the synergy between Afreeca has been beautiful, and Jin Air took their risk, not going for a range support, drafting the Tristana into Caitlyn, clearly without a plan, because so far, everywhere the Tristana's gone, either Zac or just the duo now with 3-item Caitlyn at 20 minutes with an Infernal Drake, if you don't mind, have followed the Tristana and made her irrelevant.
Yep, just ridiculous. Keen is going to go back as well. We'll see where he's going to be going, whether it's going to be the Black Cleaver picked up, but no, it's not. It's definitely going to be Trinity Force. Didn't spy the Sheen while we were checking out the gold. I do absolutely love what Kuro has done picking up the Proto Belt, because now he's got a lot of extra power right now at 20 minutes, and that's exactly when Afreeca want to be fighting, right in time with Kramer hitting that 3-item spike as well. This is really scary stuff, because the Baron is something that Jin Air need to be continuously thinking about.
How do you advance your position on the map is something that Jin Air struggle with. If they had lane priority in the bot lane, then you expect people to pile on, but now people piling on from Afreeca has to surf away.
Yeah, Abyssal Voyage just delivering underneath the turret. Afreeca Freecs trying to find a catch, but they get the Weaver's Wall for free. That means that that's something that can't check the Baron pit that Jin Air used to have access to.
Defensively, Jin Air have many fewer options to try to stall the game. Tristana needs items that are still so far away. She's 3,000 gold behind the Caitlyn, and 1.5 items as well. In the side lane, Keen has been able to build entirely for lane and is basically a Hydra up on the Camille. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. He's not worried at all. Happy to chill out underneath that turret. Has the Nomad's Medallion as well.
Baron started, and, well, the Weaver's Wall is on cooldown, so Umti gets to go for the zombie check, and even that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and Afreeca just looking to try and set themselves up. They can just wait for a face check, because that's exactly what Jin Air have to do, while Keen just destroys the 1v1 on the bottom side. Wants to find the vitals, as there's the grand challenge. Hextech Ultimatum is blocked by the looks of things with the riposte.
That was a great play by So-On. So-On did everything he could there to outplay through a massive gold advantage for the enemy, so nicely done. Kuro is on peel duty, and that means the Baron will go down the way of Afreeca, so even that one singular good moment for the side of Jin Air really means nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, once again, Mowgli a little bit upset, wanted to be able to take the Baron down himself, as he's been soloing a lot of them, but it is going to be the Afreeca Freecs now. Purple buff. So many options.
3,000 gold lead on Fiora and Camille feels just terrible for the side of Jin Air. It means that Jin Air really cannot do anything. They can't engage, they can't play side lanes because enemy split pusher is Fiora.
They can't even gank the side lane because he's now got a QSS.
Also, let me introduce Galio, the man to counter ganks, and also a Tom Kench to bring over the Caitlyn that has 3.5 items. So,
yep.
Yeah, they're just screwed. There's really nothing they can do apart from the 5-man pylon, and they're going to be spotted doing that because the ward line is there. So, unfortunately, it kind of feels like the only question mark about this game is, will it be perfect or not?
Yeah, that's what we're going to ask now. Inner turret is going to go down, continuing that one forward as Kuro. It's a decent little taunt, and now another Abyssal Voyage just to deliver the bottom lane. Everyone rotating so beautifully. Hero's Entrance and Abyssal Voyage, a fantastic combo for the Afreeca Freecs if ever they want to all join up. Teleport available from Keen as well if they want 5, but they don't need it. Keen's just going to take down this turret as well. This Baron power play doesn't need to be huge, but it is going to be regardless. Waiting for a minion wave on the top side. Inhibitor falls in mid. Everything going wrong for Jin Air, but it's going so right for Afreeca, who need to have an upswing at this point because Kingzone look brilliant. KT also look good, and Keen. No! The perfect game is going to be sacrificed. I mean, the rest of the game's going to be over as well because it was desperation, and that's going to mean the base completely destroyed in every other lane. The Afreeca Freecs, do they actually want to take the 4v5? So-On not quite there just yet, so 4v4 at this precise moment.
The Afreeca Freecs had 3 perfect games in a season, and yet never actually had an upturn. Lost 2-0 in the wildcard match, and it was all over, as it always has been for them. I think they're going to take a season where they have no Game 1 perfect games, and yet look like a team that is right up there in the top 3. They will be cemented at number 2. They're able to win here, and whatever KT does, they will not be able to overtake them in second. So Afreeca want to be competitive to the last, an outside chance of first if Kingzone start dropping series. All Afreeca can do is win every series 2-0, and if they do that, they will be second at worst.
Yep. It's the best they can hope for. KT unfortunately floundering. Looking back to that Rocks-Tigers match really was where they lost that second place, so Afreeca Freecs capitalizing on that, looking like they're not letting up whatsoever. Consistency was always something that we spoke about when we were referencing Afreeca Freecs. This season, not so much at all. They had the 10 game wins in a row in the middle of this season, only lost 4 matches, and that was against top-tier teams apart from that 2-0 loss against Jin Air.
And if you're new to Afreeca and kind of wonder where they're at, the thing I would say is, you know, the storyline of 2017 was Riot Games answering all the memes, all the old memes about where the game was at. They tried to answer them in 2017. Answer all the things the fans wanted. Afreeca Freecs are trying to answer all the memes this year and get away from being the team that always plays 3 games, that can only win game 1 but always lose game 2, that can never win a series in playoffs. They're trying to answer all those, and we won't know if it actually happens until they play in the postseason, but they're definitely going deep into the postseason. Whether they can win that best of 5, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, well, Banner of Command is going to be utilized on the bottom side of the map. Kramer free hitting onto this turret. Happy to do so. Man, that rapid fire proc was one hell of a shot onto the last remaining inhibitor turret. And Kuro and Tucson happy to tank things up. Kramer, the safest Caitlyn in the history of the world because there's 3 burly tanks in front of him. And even Keen is just bothering everyone elsewhere on the map. In goes Omti, though, as the Devour there to cancel out the Impale. They've got answers just everywhere as Hero's entrance. There's a Kidnap that's not going to find too much. But Afreeca Freecs, they're just happy to continue pressing buttons and push minions towards Jin Air.
Oh, one auto onto
God.
Grace, more than 50% of his HP. They know Cosmic Radiance is down. They want to group up 3 minion waves and end the game.
Yep, neither of the teams actually able to find the engages that they're looking for, but Afreeca Freecs, they don't need to engage. They just need to keep pushing minions forward, and Kramer will be the artillery to take down the turrets. So on getting shot by one shot, looks like he's taken a full battle with a whole lot of other champions, but nope, that is just Kramer because he is so strong. They just can't find a way in. There's just no options. Kramer uses the net to get over onto Grace. Another couple of shots and he's dead, but Keen just protecting his AD carry. Tucson as well with the Devour means that Kramer was never in trouble. Man, they are just looking so strong. Only the one death to talk about, and they'll even take a dragon just because why not?
Yeah, cheeky Infernal to even amp up their damage, pad their stats. Nothing that Jin Air does this game will turn it around, so Afreeca Freecs going to go back, buy, roll up to the base that is still going to be broken in 3 spots, and end the game. They managed to buy themselves another 5 minutes, but for Jin Air, talk about the next game because this one is over.
Yep, I think you start in the comms talking about what you're going to do, and maybe grabbing a first-round Skarner is not something that they're going to do. Leaving open the Galio as well, always dangerous, but it hasn't really been about him. This game, the Caitlyn is just really strong. Maybe Teddy just didn't expect it to be picked away from him.
And it's a surprise to everyone because, as I mentioned, SKT, first game of Caitlyn yesterday, showed Caitlyn priority at first pick. Afreeca Freecs was 0-1 on the Caitlyn with Kramer, and pick it first round with the Galio. And they leave both of them up, and then there was really no draft to salvage that the moment that the Galio Caitlyn was drafted if Afreeca played to their win conditions, and they clearly have been great about doing that. And that has meant there has just been nothing available. The Tristana into Caitlyn has been a failure. They need a new plan for game number 2.
Yep, the only option really was that Soan got so far ahead, but he just straight up didn't. Keen even won the lane when he shouldn't have. Kramer going to be able to take this one down as Teddy. That shield non-existent now as he goes down to about half health, but Mowgli, he's the one starting off the engage. Cosmic Radiance is good, but it's not enough time. Soan just takes too much damage. Wraith has been challenged by Keen, and in goes Mowgli. One more time, goes Golden, and now everyone's getting healed up by the Grand Challenge. It's everyone on the fountain of Jin Air, and they couldn't keep their Nexus alive. A disgusting game 1 for the Afreeca Freecs. There's no other way to describe it, but beautiful if you're a fan of seeing them possibly make it to the rank 1 position here in the LCK.
First game they play in week 8, an immaculate one. 1 kill away from being a perfect game. Just so well engineered. It's also heartening to see Keen back on a true carry, and the team both know how to play around it. And the player who's been role-playing the Scion for the better majority of the past month or so, also being able to show his chops, the thing that got so many people excited about him in the second round robin of Summer, and what got him picked up by the Afreeca Freecs. Great performance, setting up for a 2-0, whereas Jin Air, they need a wholly new draft that really allows them to have a more true win condition and also buys a bit more breathing room for Teddy, because given the Skarner and the hard leash to the Skarner, got the team nothing.
Yep. Nothing really worked. Just too much mobility on the side of the Afreeca Freecs. The Abyssal Voyage was utilized so beautifully. The Hero's Entrance almost didn't need to be utilized beautifully because they never got to the stage where they needed more durability. It was just all the picks, all the catches at the right times. And the Afreeca Freecs ran away with it absolutely. The 2v2 kill on the bottom side of the map as well, something that you wouldn't expect from Teddy. Just not able to keep themselves alive. The snowball was absolutely real. Mowgli soloing everything on the map as well to start things off. It looked like Zach was an early game champion that wasn't scared of anyone. Shouldn't really be the case. Oh man, the Afreeca Freecs now looking at that 2-0 as a possibility. Kingzone, if they do get the 2-0 after this, it is still going to be a relative confirmation. They'll be able to get towards that top spot, but haven't quite secured it yet. KT Rolster are formidable opponents. And things are looking real for the Afreeca Freecs. But guys, a short break and then game number 2 right after.